Hi, I'm Nina, and you are tuning in to the Audible Weed Walk episode number 20. It seems so normal and back to the routine to be able to sit here and say this. But this week has nothing close to normal. I am so grateful to be able to get back to this normal routine. For those of who are unaware, that we had a cyclone in this area. Cyclone Nivar had brushed us with a visit on Wednesday night, or rather in the wee hours of Thursday, the 26th, which is just yesterday. But from the 24th itself, we had rains. A whopping 300 millimeters of rain, as the data from Pondicherry shows. We are lucky. Audible is in the plateau, and the natural drainage here has not got clogged with construction and debris like in most metros. Our soils were perched and appreciated much rain. The result? We don't have much widespread flooding, though some low-lying areas are still waterlogged, and weather is still pretty much moist, wet, and damp. Though as I'm sitting here talking to you, it's bright and sunny and wonderful outside. But what about this? It seems like it's a deja vu. A few years back, we had experienced Thane. It was a very different cyclone altogether. Cyclone Thane hit us directly. We were on its path. We could see it in all its brute, wonderful, amazing glory. And I told myself, wow, it's an experience of a lifetime, which I would rather not repeat. For the Thane, I was rather ill-prepared. I had never experienced a cyclone, but what it looked like when I went outside the day after Thane, that most of us were ill-prepared. There were lots of trees which fell down, and Thane passed us quickly, and the next day was bright and sunny after a little bit of rain. And when the rain stopped, I had walked over under the tree, under the fallen branches, and tried to go outside the woodlot we call forest, and into the village and maybe see the main road. And nothing, absolutely nothing could be seen. It was a mass of green, a lot of broken trees, a lot of sun, because it had flattened almost half of the trees that were in there standing in this township, which is covered more than 60% by trees. What followed in the weeks that came after were also quite amazing. The trees actually grows, all plants, not just the trees, almost had a rambunctious growth. They were growing by the inches, by centimeters, by visibly if you were measuring them. I always feel like remembering the art of Michelangelo Antonioni when I... No, I had mentioned a filmmaker there. Look at that. I remember the art of Michelangelo when I see the trees touch each other from across the path. And after the cyclone Thane, they were all open, bare. But in about a few months, they were back again, touching. So the growth was amazing. But let's come back to eating. After Thane, as we walked out, there was absolutely nothing. It was all green and mass, and I could see several papaya plants broken, fallen over with all its fruits. So there we go, was the dinner and lunch. We collected a lot of green papayas. And in the days that followed, we ate a lot of papayas. And perhaps what it sounds like from what I'm hearing from the different farms and communities, that's what is happening now also. Are we getting cyclone savvy? That's a term that I never wanted a tag for myself. But what a convoluted world we are in. We do not talk whole lot about climate change, and we do not talk about how to combat it. But we have to force ourselves to be cyclone savvy. That's weird. Anyway, let me first recollect some of the things that what the authorities recommend that you should eat after such an event, after flooding. One of the most stringent guidelines are provided by the US. It says that if you categorize the produce or what you eat in two categories, what you eat fresh and what you eat cooked. The ones which you eat fresh, if they were affected by flood, do not eat it. Do not eat any of them. Wait for the new growths to come. And if you are eating them cooked, say the tubers and things like that, then wait a bit if they are affected by floodwater before you harvest and eat them. But age-old, the wild greens have always come in rescue in times like this. As I had mentioned in the previous podcast, traditionally, the recommendation is not to eat anything wild and green during the flood times, especially when there is a waterlogging and water clogging. The reason is that you have no idea, no control where the water has run off, which water has run off, what kind of water has contaminated, and what kind of contaminants are coming from the water that is running off from other fields, other areas to your place. If you're in a city area, then definitely this is a concern. But, if you are in a relatively safe place, in a farm where the water has drained off, or you are growing plants in the balconies, there also keep some, guidelines back in your mind, what to eat and what not to eat. Even if the greens that is growing in your pot looks very luscious, if you know that they are shallow rooted, eat them. But if you know that they are deep-rooted and therefore perhaps after so much of rain are still kind of in a high water situation, then wait for a few days for the new leaves to come. As I just mentioned, the growth and the sprouting of the new vegetation is quite amazing to observe and to experience after such an event. So wait a bit and you will see such lush growth that would come from the existing plants. Now, if the plants are looking wilted and they are looking a little sad, absolutely not. Don't eat them. If you plant the wild greens and not so wild ones, which are climbing, for example, they are something that off the ground and you have to pick it up. They are all good. They are amazing and would provide you the needed nutrition and nourishments that you need at this time. But amongst the wild, the ones which is actually traditionally much used during the flood times is taro or Colocasia. Taro stems and the leaves are on a regular basis eaten in Kerala throughout the monsoon months. Perhaps this is almost the only plant which grows wild and in abundance at that time. And the rainwater is so much that perhaps any contaminant that kind of it takes care, it goes away. But of course, if you are in an area which is really polluted and you find taros there, you should not touch it. Many of these wild plants at this time also contains nutrients and micronutrients that your body needs. So I would say that a few guidelines would be that if your plant is looking fresh, if they are shallow rooted, eat them. The amaranth family, which is a lot, you will find them they're sprouting new leaves very soon. Eat them when the new leaf sprouts. Anything else which looks like covered with dirt, mud, you could wash and eat. Wait a little, a few days, a week, and pick up the new greens. And my other recommendation would be try to eat cooked at this time, because absolutely all the guidelines, irrespective of which country they are coming from, they recommend that cooking actually eliminates any other risk of contaminants at this time. Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, defines wild edible plants as plants that grow spontaneously in self-maintaining populations in natural or semi-natural ecosystem and can exist independently of direct human actions. Well, you can provide loving care to them and grow them, but they do not need you to grow or exist. That's what sets them apart from the cultivars. They are locally available, low input options for nutrition. Prior to agriculture, which only started some 10,000 years ago, wild edible greens, no matter where they came from and how they traveled, form the prime component of human diet. I read an article that says not just in India, but commonly some 300 to 800 different species of wild plants are eaten in other countries too, for even in the drier climates such as Ethiopia. Kenya too has similar numbers. A true estimate is likely to be much more, including that in India. One study reports that humans have used more than 700 wild edible plants during some stages in the history. Really? That number sounds awfully low. As we have all read very recently, Bruce French, a gentleman from Tasmania, Tasmania, the teeny-miny little island in the south of Australian mainland, has documented wild edibles from around Australia, Southeast Asia, Asia, and the tropics that came up to a whopping 31,170 species. It is a task and responsibility by the organization he has founded, not just to continue to document and include more, but to keep updating what has been already included. As you know, biological names and information about them keeps changing as more research, more data becomes available. Now let's get back to what you want to eat, what you should eat. Just listen to what your body wants. For most of us, the sound of the piping, steaming soup, hearty broth, and those of us who have a penchant for a little heat are spiced with a little bit of good flavorful heat of choice. Bird's eye chili, fresh ground peppercorn, tipoli or piper longum, or for the brave hearts amongst us, there is ghost pepper. You know ghost pepper, right? It is called king chili or raja mircha in Nagaland or bhut jalokia in Assam. Quite hot. The crux is, eat your food cooked and hot. It removes even the slightest possibility of any contamination due to rain and also perks up your body. Wild greens are available with all its amazing strength to boost our health and keep us nourished. Did you know that amaranth lives, and if you check the coloring book, there are several of those with the name starting with amaranthus or alternanthera or celosia. They have more iron and essential to boost nutrition level than, say, for example, cabbage. Wild edible plants are sometimes known as a rich source of vitamins and nutrients, and can significantly contribute towards alleviating malnutrition. One study says that they complement diet of greater than 1 million people of the world, and I can guarantee that this is a terribly conservative figure. The actual number is a lot more. Even with dwindling knowledge and the use of the plant with less use of the plant with a changing lifestyle and the lack of knowledge and awareness. It continues to be a major source of food for the tribal and the rural communities in our country and across the world. They have a huge role to play in addressing malnutrition, both in families and in the poor, amongst the poor who cannot afford store-bought vegetables, or higher income groups who also suffer from malnutrition due to incorrect food choices. So there you go. We have, whether it's during the times of our need, after such a calamity, during such flood, we have the wild greens all surrounding us. Make your choice judiciously, and they're all there to provide the correct nourishment and the correct nutrient to boost us up and to prepare us for anything that is going to come. Thank you so much, and stay well and stay safe. I see you next time.